Hey, it's Joey Balladonna here from Anthrax, and this is SAGAS.
Well,
Look, this is a big one.
I didn't break out and join the podcast today.
It is now time for Devil's Advocate. Same time, same place, awesome.
What's going on, everybody? This is Corbin, the Serpentine Skipwith.
And this is Ray on the Berserker Marabou, and this is
SAGAS.
Oh, Sagas. Welcome.
Welcome. We're back for, I think, the 28th episode.
That's amazing.
30.
We're almost 30.
That's 30 weeks, almost. 28 weeks.
That's incredible, man.
Cool. So, if you guys tuned in last week, which is now uploaded as we speak, we interviewed the band Basalt. Forgive me for my forgetting the band name, but they'll forgive us. We interviewed a band yesterday with an indie band, and the album from Fiery Tongues. So we interviewed them. We had the guy on, the guitarist, and it was real fun. Basalt Shrine. Basalt Shrine is who we had on. Great album, and we were talking like just how incredible a band, so not amateur but starting off, can sound so grand, so crazy. And anyway, the guitarist recommended this album behind us. So today we'll be talking about the 2005, I believe, album, The Deal by Sumac. No, sorry, 2015. My bad. 10 years off. Sumac, The Deal. So, anyway, I figured why not better than you start off?
Yeah. So, I when he said Sumac, I wasn't sure if it was who I was thinking of, but when I quickly discovered that it was exactly the dude I was thinking of, Aaron Turner, from Old Man Gloom and ISIS. I haven't listened to ISIS that much, but Old Man Gloom, their album Christmas was absolutely excellent back in like the early 2000s. I think it was 2004. And Aaron Turner is obviously the guitar player from ISIS, but he's from Old Man Gloom, and that's where I would have known him from. They were like a New Mexico kind of band, and just sludgy, weird, strange, sonically strange, like. And then when I found out that he was the main man that behind this band, Sumac, I was absolutely delighted because he's got a real unique kind of idea of you know how music should be like sonically absorbed rather than just listened to. And you know he's an excellent musician, but he said that he wanted to make this band his heaviest band yet. And when I read that, I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. Like, because it's definitely the heaviest band he's worked on anyway, and probably one of the heaviest bands you could possibly listen to. So straight away, that was the first bit of information I gathered before I listened to it, and then I was just blown away. I thought it was excellent. Like the first listen, it was a lot to take in because there's a lot going on. 6 tracks, an hour long, almost 50 whatever minutes. But then the second time, I just got it. It just clicked. It just straight away. I was like, yes, I understand this now, and it was just so nice. It was just lovely. By the time I got through the second listen, and then on my third listen, I was like, yeah, this is one of my faves, man. This is killer. Like, so I was very happy that Bobby suggested this album anyway.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. So, I think on the third listen, that's when shit really connected. But it's interesting because it's the main thing that kept going through my head when I was listening to this album. Because I'm someone who's very, very versed in what do you call it? Post rock. Post rock. I'm very familiar with. I've been for a few years, and obviously the band we talked about last week, they were very influenced by that sound, and you can hear a lot of it on this album. A lot of post-rock, apocalyptic, very larger than life production and sounds. But what really kind of caught my attention specifically was the fact that this had so many different elements combined with the post-rock, which I don't know how versed you are in post-rock, but that's almost unheard of. See, post-rock is very much like thrash metal in the sense that not many thrash metal albums are very diverse. If you get a thrash metal album, you get a thrash metal album. You don't hear a very different Slayer album or a very different Megadeth. It's very straightforward, and that's why people love it. It's the same thing. Post rock is normally very self-contained. You know, you can listen to bands like a band I mentioned very often, Godspeed You Black Emperor, to be the main one in my head. You listen to any one of their albums, it's larger than life, but it's contained within their universe, the post-rock universe. Very little. I think this is the first time I've ever heard a post-rock influenced album branch off to different genres, which isn't a bad thing. It's just caught me by surprise personally. Because on this album, it's very interesting because sonically, you can hear a bit of well, to me, you can hear a bit of sludge influence, but then the vocals, the very few vocals that are on here, it's very death metal growl inspired. So it's like you got the overall post rock aesthetic mixed with some heavy sludge, mixed with some death metal vocal harmonies, which I think is a very interesting combination trio. So yeah, I got to say that was the first thing that took me by surprise. And that was the main thing for me to process. Listening to a post rock album branch off the way it did. So for me, anyway, that was groundbreaking. And yeah, those were my initial thoughts.
It's very It's I totally agree. They pushed the envelope out on this one. Like they really you know, I was surprised. I thought when, from the very opening track, I thought, right, this is where it's gonna go. It's gonna be a soundscape of noise and drones and stuff like that. But I think what makes this band stand out is the drummer. I couldn't stop but notice Nick. I'm not even going to try and say his surname, but Nick is absolutely phenomenal. One of the best drummers I've heard in recent times. And then I looked into his, background and who he played with. He's also in a band called Baptists. And funny enough, Dave Grohl actually said that he is one of his favorite drummers at the moment, a couple of years back. So yourself, like that is the biggest compliment a drummer could ever get. But he was influenced by Dave, which is I'm sure he nearly died when he heard this, But you can hear it's like Dave Grohl has this very very powerful, I call it a thwack. It's like rum, boom, rum. It's all like very like it's a big whack, like he's it's like triplet notes on the toms and the snare, whatever. I won't get too into that kind of stuff, but he really has that in spades, and it's just flows so well through the songs. Very powerful kind of stuff, and like the idea that Aaron Turner was going for was he wanted the music to be minimalistic, and it definitely is in the guitar and the bass kind of side of things. But the drums definitely just open it up and carry the songs into crazy sections. Like there are absolutely mind-bending moments on this album that I was just like, this is stupid good. Like, like what the hell? And then even the production. We spoke about this guy on, remember the in.So album we spoke about. The guy from Kurt Ballow from Converge. I think he might have recorded or mastered that album as well, but he mastered this one, and he is just a tone wizard. Like he just has, an ear for making things sound huge, and it sounds like they're layered and layered and layered in this, but they're not. They stripped it back, like we were chatting about Korn, ourselves about one of their albums, that they stripped it back. That's what they done on this as well. They stripped it right back, and it sounds huge. You wouldn't believe that it was stripped back, But yeah, so like even the songs are really interestingly written, but then you've got all this behind it and who's running it and who's recording it. Like it was Mel from Son O that actually recorded this album as well, or Son, as I always call them Son O. But yeah, Son recorded, so you can really get a real understanding of what they were going for with this album.
They really couldn't have found a better person to help with the larger than life feel. Because, like, you can't name a bigger band, bigger as in feel than Sun. It's like that's what they're known for. So very good choice by them. But to the point of being stripped back, it is something I noticed because on the first listen, I didn't really notice too many things because, as you said, try to process it all. As with any album, the first listen, very few times does it hit you. But upon the second and third listen, it's like there were moments, and I think it happened the most frequently. I think on Hollow King. I think, there's moments throughout the album, but that song in particular, where I started to notice, how do I describe it? A lot of loose instrumentation, like as if it's being played in like a garage, like random drum hitting and like guitar sounds, but like it doesn't sound like it's mastered per se. It just sounds like it's kind of sporadically being put in, and kind of like a practice session, the kind of sounds you would make in a practice session. And I noticed that in the second and third listen, I was like, oh yeah, there's that part there's that part there, and it really gave a kind of a primal feel to the whole thing, and which is crazy because obviously, if you listen to this album, especially from the intro track, Spectral Gold, it has this super, like, it starts off obviously super quiet, but then 30 seconds in, it just builds to this kind of robust, this like big giant, almost symphony in structure, like interlude. So to think that an album like this is stripped back is kind of hard to believe. But yeah, there are moments to me where I can hear it, and it's funny because one of the key elements normally of a post rock band, and they've nailed this to the T as well, is the very subtle, the spectrum of subtle to no vocals in the albums. And you can tell on this album there's very few parts of vocal usage, and it just, I think, I mean, obviously I'm not the artist, but I feel like bands like this and bands of his similar genre do that because I think having a human voice on an album too much can kind of take away that primal feel to it. It's kind of like, the same reason why in horror movies normally they don't give a name or a backstory to the creature, because if you give it a backstory, it becomes human. No, not human. It becomes you start to care about it. You start to understand, but they don't want you to do that. And it's just a mindless creature that's here to terrify you. I think it's the same thing. Like, the less he speaks on the album, the more mysterious the record comes across, the more primal it comes across. And I think this would have been by design, and like it is on most post-rock albums, it's done to keep that magic, that surreal feel of the album that for some reason or another, human voices kind of just ruin. So, or too much human voice kind of just ruins. So it's definitely, and there's so many interesting perspectives to take on this album, and yeah, those were a few I pointed out.
Yeah, like Hollow King, it's a really interesting track. It was a contender for one of my favorites, but that was at the early stages of listening to the album. It got pegged at the post, but yeah, for a band like this, the vocals are really interesting. They're very darkly written, dark poetry, I would call it, but very abstract lyrics as well. But the way they're conveyed, it is primal. It's very, like, you can imagine, like, like a caveman, coming out of a cave screaming, watching his territory. It's very feral, kind of very, yeah, it's a very feral sort of vocal. But it's interesting that they put the vocals very far down in the mix as well. Well, not very far, but quite far down. Because the music is so big, you know, it probably would have dynamically pleased me a little bit if the vocals were a little bit louder, but that's just my preference because that's, you know, when I'm sitting here mixing, that's what I do all day. Um, and it's just a slight shame because he does have a ferocious voice, like really, really big. But then again, it was probably preference, like you said, maybe it does make it a bit too human or something when they're trying to make it a bit evil and larger than life and otherworldly and stuff. But yeah, the sludgy chunk in Hollow King straight away, it was just this real filthy heft, and I was like, yep, this is my favorite. This is a favorite contender just from the very start of the song. Kind of lost me towards the end with all the noise and stuff like, which makes me sound like an old fella. It's a bit noisy now, wasn't it, kids? But I love noise. Like when I'm here rehearsing with the band, I love an old bit of feedback, you know, at the amp and all just crazy wobbly notes and stuff. But after like maybe 2 minutes of this that they had on this track, kind of lost me a little bit on that. But I get it. Live, it would be amazing. I've seen them playing live, a few live videos, and he just does this cool thing in between tracks when he's songs when he's changing his guitar. He'll just loop this mad sound of him just going apeshit on the guitar, like just woo, big wobbly notes, and he put it on a loop. He'll take his guitar off, and that's looping this really obnoxious sound. And you're all these people are just standing there. It's really harsh, and he picks up his other guitar and then knocks off the loop and cracks into another song. It's a really cool effect that I'm going to steal. I think I'm going to start doing that myself. If anybody who's watched this and sees me doing that at shows, they'll know where I got that from. But the other thing I'll say song Hollow Kings is there are absolutely kick-ass dynamics, and there's these huge accent notes, you know, huge accent notes. Where it's just like an open or one solid chord, and they're just going for boom, boom, pow, boom, 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 boom. Like I love a big accent note. I can't even describe how much I love that. It's one of my favorite things to. It's simple, but it really brings out, especially on a live show. So yeah, happy days on that one.
I can just imagine like it's a funny image in my head. The idea like, you know, you're like 70 years old with like grandkids and you're telling them stories like, oh, back in my day as a Viking, raping and pillaging, that was fine, but noise. Oh, the noise. Crazy. Fucking no, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I like my victims in the villages to be quiet, you know.
Yeah. Back in the day when I slaughtered the victims, they were quiet, but the noise these days. Fuck. Oh, I mean, hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
A funny image.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a very, like I said, a very interesting blend of stuff, because throughout the whole album you just have like, even though there's only maybe 2 or 3 different influences on here, the way they manage and the way they amplify those 2 or 3 different sounds, in my opinion, being post-rock, sludge, and death metal, makes it for such an interesting listen. And I find it interesting, like, you don't really hear too often a band playing a certain genre but then singing a different genre. That's a bit of a, like, you don't normally hear that too often. It's either, you know, like, obviously if you're a thrash metal band, you're singing thrash style. If you're a death metal band, you sing death. But like, for them to sing sludge, play sludge, but sing death, it's just like, it's kind of a weird dynamic. It kind of reminds me a bit of I get kind of a, at least vocally mixed in with the production. I can't it kind of reminds me a bit of I Hate God, the sludge band, EYE. Hate God.
Yeah.
Because on their earlier albums they had really devilish vocal harmonies, and they had a real sludge, because they're a sludge band. They had a real sludgy atmosphere, but such devilish vocals. And I kind of get the same feel here. It's like, it's so sinister, but at the same time, mixed in with those heavy, just weighing down instrumentation that sludge is known for, and then you mix in the very dark apocalyptic post rock aesthetic, and then you have this just like this whirlwind of an album. And it's interesting because like obviously they this band knew where they wanted to take it. They knew when to stop, which is a weird thing to point out for an album because you hear the most stupid shit these days. It's like whenever someone finds an album they like, they'll be like, "Oh, I wish the album went forever." And it's like, no, you fucking don't. Because if it went forever, you'd lose its magic. Like, they knew when to stop because 6 tracks, they're like, all right, from track 1 to track 6, we know how to start it, we know how to end it, we know how to fill it up. And this just proves right here that they had a actual conceptual thing they wanted to accomplish. And, every great story has to have an ending. You can't just go forever. So it's not like daytime TV that goes for like 50 seasons of random shit. Like, they actually had a plan, and this is almost like a very cold-hearted audiobook almost. Like you listen to it and your mind just takes you to dark places. So yeah, I can definitely tell just even looking at the small details and listening to it a few times, you can tell that they had enough awareness, they had enough knowledge to know how much to add into the album. And yeah, so everything just speaks volumes to who they are and what they are as artists.
Yeah, I mean, totally. It's like it's a debut album as well. So for them to put all that effort into it and all that vision into it, it's pretty cool. Like I know they're very experienced musicians before they started this band. Like Aaron, obviously, like I said, it was in loads of amazing big bands, but also the Brian Cook was in Russian Circles, the bass player. Like he's been in a couple of other cool bands, like Botcher or whoever else. Just really a really good 3-piece. Like they've toured the world, they've done everything. They knew what they were doing. They knew who to work with and what was the best production to lean into. It was just a brilliant debut album. Like really dense and heavy and monstrous, and there's literally everything. Anybody that likes heavy music can appreciate this because there's loads of groove in it as well. And again, that's down to Nick, his drums. He can turn a big sludgy doomy riff into like a groove, like a post metal or post rock, like you were saying. It's just really cool. The interesting thing as well is the fact that it was released with Profound Law Records, which was a nice introduction for the band to get more involved. But now they're signed. Who are they signed with now? They recently only signed with them anyway, but it's after pushing the ball out even more with them. Thrill Jockey. They have a new album coming out, or they're working on it. 2020 was their last one. May You Be Held. So like I'm interested to listen to the more recent albums. There's Love and Shadows as well, and there's another one. The first one they released on Thrill Jockey was What One Becomes. So there's just some like loads and loads of material from these boys. They were in famous other bigger bands, but they didn't take this as a side project, which I always really admire. Because essentially in the genre, this is a supergroup, but they took it on as this is another real band that we're taking serious. And straight away with this debut, it's like they were taking no prisoners. They were going for it, and Aaron as well has his own label as well. I think it's called Side Records, and they him and his wife work really closely on that, and they've released like a vinyl of this. They do all the vinyls distributions on that end, which is always a really nice touch. Like I think from the artwork as well behind you, it's just like it's not overboard artistically, but it's very striking. And it was Aaron and his wife, Faith is her name. Faith's in a band as well called Mammofer or something, and she's very involved in the scene. And the two of them are just like this power couple kind of thing, and they do the art stuff, the music stuff, the label stuff. It's just a cool little setup they have, But he's just a really interesting character, I find, Aaron Turner. He just he loves the music, and he just just immersed himself into this band. You know, I mean, he didn't have to do this. It was a want to do it. You know, he's not doing it for the paycheck. He's already got the paycheck. He's got all that going on. This is just pure passion on this album. Like, he just wanted to make the heaviest album that he had made at the time. I'm pretty sure the stuff I've heard since, they've released heavier stuff for with Sumac. But yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting approach, the whole approach to this album, and it's tuned to A. Where, as far as I know, like ISIS and any other bands he'd worked in were tuned to B. So, you know, he went right down to A. And it just sounds immense. You know, it's just so cool.
Well, I'm not sure if he's heard, but I think ISIS has gone downhill since he left. They've gone to terror.
Oh yeah.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah, fuck's sake. I was waiting for you to crack a joke on that one. Fuck's sake.
It is one thing before we go into the next segment. The one thing I do find pretty funny though is like every week, either me or you will say to the audience like, "Oh, you know, they've released music since then or music before this. I can't wait to dive into it." But realistically, we're both too busy to do nothing else but review the album coming up next week. So,
yeah, it's kind of like it goes on a playlist that, like, you know, maybe we're on a plane or we're on a long car journey, we might get around to it. Like,
we have like a stacked up like notes of albums. Fuck. So sorry guys, that's the reality of show business. We're tearing down the veil.
Kids. Yeah.
Or the veil. All right, so let's get the sponsors done, and then So, do you want to start, Ray?
Yeah, well, this week I wanted to just give a shout out to the Beard Struggle, because they sent me this nice package that I'm gonna open up later on. It's got some cool stuff. It was sent out to me by a chap called Ast, and his Viking nickname is Eric. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what is going on there. So a big shout out to them. And also, while I'm at it, I want to give a big shout out to my boys from the Ulster Mead Co. The King of the North bottle is on its way to production everywhere. Just a few more months, and it'll be available everywhere. So keep an eye out on that one as well. And also, I'd like to give out a shout to United Music Mafia, as there's a mass release of singles coming out on the 12th of August. And alongside all of that is a new song from myself and the Berserkers. Bloodlines, Echoes of the Norse Gale. Oh man, that's really bad. So focused on Sumac, I forget about my own music. It's a 9-minute epic journey song anyway. That's gonna have your head twisting, and like you won't expect what's coming next, kind of thing. So I can't wait to release that. But there's loads of cool music by loads of other cool artists on the label as well. So go on, it's all good. It's all good.
Well, I can't wait to finally get my hands on a bottle. So the guys at the meat company.
Yeah. They got your address, man.
I can't wait to become an alcoholic. Woo!
I tell you one thing. Yeah, go on.
Go.
No, I was gonna just say, I tell you one thing. It's a lovely gentleman's drink, but it will blow the head off you.
Well, perfect. So, what do I start with? So, if you're in need of a review, I'm the guy for you. So, lately, I've toned it down a lot because I've got other shit going on. And I've started a new system where I now, because I don't really have the time to do it, so if I do make the time for it, I want it to be worth it. So, it's now $10 a review, but trust me, I always put my all into it. You're going to love it. I haven't had a bad review since. So, as Jordan Belfort said, I don't ask people to judge me on my winnings, but my losing, because I have so few. Great quote by Jordan Belfort. So that's the same with me. I don't do bad reviews. I don't think. I do my best. $10, best review you're going to get. So hit me up at serpenttongue94.wordpress.com and contact me there. And if you like reading reviews, just click on reviews and binge through the read. I've got plenty. Next up, I want to shout out Zach Moonshine, who has been going through quite a interesting struggle himself with the fucking Tennessee shows. And I'm not one to hate on anyone. And I actually know someone, I think, from Tennessee. I think John Sorrell's from Tennessee. No, Memphis. I think it's the same. I don't know. But anyway, like, it's just fun. Like, he's from one of those places. The South. But it's crazy. If you guys aren't aware, maybe we're not the best to discuss it, but it's on Facebook. Struggles about people not liking a metal festival because it's satanic or it's fucked up. And we just want Zach to know that on SAGAS we have his full support. We're definitely gonna share it and push it to the end. So if you guys need any PR at all as a metal band, you can't ask for anyone better than Zach Moonshine. He is the GOAT of PR. There is also Bg Goodrich, who is an amazing guy himself. Local Band Smokeout, another fantastic source. Go contact him on you'll find him on Facebook, Twitch, or social media. He's another great one. But yeah, Zach Moonshine, heavy metal PR legend. He's always pushing for the community. Even in this current situation, him and his wife are not backing down. They're pushing this festival, and that just gives me so much more respect for them. They're metal to the end, and that's why we love him, and that's why we love the Metal Devastation Radio. So if you're a band, make sure to contact them at ZACH at metaldevstationradio.com and see what he can do for you, because I guarantee you won't be disappointed. And John Sorrell. So John Sorrell is a man who creates his own custom issues, the Morgrot, which is a physical copy filled with horror inspiration, heavy metal, and I believe it's artwork. Very, metal themed things all together. There's reviews inside written by various different people. And excitingly enough, it's coming, I think, in September, or October, SAGAS can officially announce that we are having our own edition made by John Sorrell called the SAGAS edition. As he has announced, there's going to be 2 versions coming out that month, the normal standard edition and then the SAGAS edition. And I was lucky enough to work on the edition. I did most of the reviews on that edition. Just to make it the real SAGAS edition, may as well have me do it. He edited the logo and everything. It looks great. He did it in his own style. He didn't have to do that. It's fucking fantastic. The artwork for the front cover, it looks sick. It's like this creature coming up with his hand. It's fucking awesome. Everything he does is amazing. And I can't wait to get my physical issue. Randy, you have to contact John ASAP about that. But regardless, it's going to be sick. And I hope you guys choose the SAGAS edition. Fuck the other one. No. Choose the SAGAS edition, because we're blown away by it, and I'm sure it's going to turn a lot of heads. So make sure go contact John Sorrell, Morgrot, Morgue, Rot, ROT, on Facebook, and I'm sure there's plenty he can do for you if you're a band that fits his music taste, because he is one of the heaviest guys I know in music taste. Like, fuck, it's either black metal or grindcore, that guy. So if you're a band that plays black metal or grindcore or anything super heavy, I'm sure he'll love you. So go check him out for all you extremists out there in the music industry. And lastly, just a quick one this time. Go check out Gas Digital Network. Tons of shows, tons of comedy shows, a lot of different themes from wrestling, horror, comedy, cartoon recaps, anything you can want, it's all there. Zach Wilde himself is on it. So, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. But if you're someone who has a comedy taste darker than the pits of hell, there's a show on there called Legion of Skanks, which is twice a week, 1 Zoom, 1 live, 3 different guests with 3 different characters. And yeah, they just come together to laugh about stuff that you shouldn't be laughing at, all for the great push of freedom of speech. something that we're both advocates for. So if that's your thing, go check them out at Gas Digital Network. Go subscribe, and if that's not your thing, there's plenty of things to like anyway. So yeah, that's me.
Sick. All amazing people. I totally advocate these people. Speaking of which, this is the Devil's Advocate.
If only he sang this good on his albums.
Here, mate. Happy days.
All right, so I guess as always, I start first.
Yeah.
So actually, before I start, so I'm going to start on my worst track. But before I do, I am very curious. Is there any chance you can guess what the worst track is for me?
I'm gonna. Well, I mean, straight away, I think this is a trick question, but I would have said the last one or the first one.
Okay.
No,
you got it wrong, but
right.
I thought you might got it. So, oh wait, sorry, the best track. I was thinking the worst, but my bad. Sorry, what songs did you say?
The first and the last one for your.
Oh no, you're wrong anyway. I'll start with the worst. So,
right.
The worst track for me, and it's for a very, again, we're nitpicking here. Well, I am anyway. But the worst track for me for this one tiny reason, and actually, I think this is the same reason I gave the worst track for Diamond Head. I think same reason back then. That's track 2, Thorn in the Lion's Paw, and for one reason, the same reason I gave that album review. There's a part in that song. It's only, in the 8-minute song, there's a part, I think it's at the start, where there's a couple of notes that just end abruptly. It just ends. There's no, it just stops, continues, stops, continues. And I hate that. I like, you shouldn't just, and look, I'm not saying it's a bad song, it's just a bad part to me. Like, you know, when someone's playing an instrument and then they just stop abruptly, it's just like, it kind of to me ruins the flow of everything. Because like, you know, that would be like, you know, it would be the same thing if I was talking right now and then I just start talking, but if it's gonna ruin the flow of things. You shouldn't do that. So look, I love the song, I love the album, but that part pisses me off. So so it's my OCD. I can't help it. Sorry guys, I can't help it. I'm the serpent tongue. Anyway, my favorite track, and this is a track we've been talking a lot about today, Hollow King. It may have been scrubbed off your favorite, but it was not for me. This song, I fucking love it, and obviously you love it too. So there's so many things to love about it, but for me, the one thing that really drove home the love for it, well, first thing, in the 12 minutes and 21 seconds, there was never a boring moment, which is pretty impressive. But the second part as to why I love it is because towards the last, I would say 3 minutes, it has this weird, the only way I can describe it is this weird deconstructing of the song. It's like, it feels like they're stretching out and slowly deconstructing the song to its inevitable conclusion. And I don't know what it is, but it sounds sick. It sounds like I can only, the only thing I can think of is like imagining watching like a robot being torn apart, and it's just like there's music in the background and you just hear the different parts shifting and changing. I don't know what it is, but I love it. And it happens in the last 4 to 3 minutes, and the whole song amazing, but that last section is just like, oh, it made me so happy. There's so much stuff to love about it. And yeah, those are my choices.
Sick. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, Hollow King is a great track. It's some really, really cool bits. And like, I was really excited about the big accent notes, and there is a cool enough period in the middle of the song as well, where it just, you know, mellows out and then just brings that big blast and heavy riffage that comes back in, just makes it even bigger. The track number 2, you know, I'll be honest with you, I had track number 2, 3, 4, 5 all as contenders for favorite songs in this. You know, it was very hard to pick again. And that was one of them as well. Your least favorite, but yeah, I get it. With your OCD, it was at the piano at the start. It was like they play this piano note. It was kind of spooky, and then it would fade out, and then to a complete cut stop, but you know, dead air. It wasn't even like letting the instrument breathe. It was just completely cut off, and then it would come back again. And yeah, I thought it was interesting, kind of spooky, but yeah, it was very, very strange. I never actually heard something so obviously cutting. You know, it was interesting, but like, you know, I get what you're saying. It had that big juggernaut kind of proportions to it as well. It was you know, a big song, but you know, it was probably one of my least of my favorite contenders. Hollow King and what's it, Blight's End's Angel. That was a very cool song. It was a lovely slow burner, big drone and intro, and you know, like I said earlier on about the poetic lyrical content or direction. It's just really cool, really dark. There wasn't a huge amount of lyrics on it, but the lyrics that were written were really well written, really nice lyrics. So the one that pegged it from me with the lyrics and the music and the whole menacing tone of it would be The Deal, the album track, title track. It's just a badass track. It's like mean. It's a mean song. And like I said, it's littered with menacing tones, over and under menacing tones. It's just like every kind of like angle you think of. It's just coming at you with this big like no nonsense in your face. Super, like I said, super abstract lyrics. Like here's one of my favorites. Like bodies will we burn when the mantle of our spirit is not our own. It's just like it's cryptic, but you can kind of understand it. It's dark, but yeah, it's beautiful because it's like very poetic. It's just very cool. It's a really dynamic song, which I love. And for a band in this genre, or even though these guys have stepped a little bit out of that genre, it you don't get a huge amount of dynamics with the instrumentation. It's always usually just like try and get it as big and loud in your face as you can, and the best way to do that is to lock in. But these guys just spread it out, and there's lovely dynamics. With the bass sounds absolutely killer on this album. Like that's Brian Cook's signature sound. It's just so nice, and it really stands out in this track. And again, the drums are phenomenal. I just cannot get enough of Nick's drumming. It's just unbelievable. And there's a nice wailing guitar finishes off the track, and you know, it's overall, I think it pegged it for me because it's the most well-rounded tune on the album. But all excellent. Did I say my least favorite? No, I don't think I did. My least favorite, which is a pity because for the first, you know, 2 minutes of the song, I was really enjoying it. And I was like, oh, this is going somewhere really cool. Final track in the album. I was like, this is gonna be an absolute ripper. And then it just ended, and I was just a little bit disappointed because I had just really enjoyed The Deal, and I was expecting this track to have this really slow, atmospheric, quite spacey intro, and then I was expecting it to kick in. But musically, it's absolutely lovely. I loved every second of it, but I was just disappointed because it didn't go into. I would have loved if it kicked into some big filthy heft, but it didn't. So you know, I would love the track number 6 to go at the start to number 5, and number 5 be the final track, and then I'd be happy out. Like, but that's all it is. I mean, it's beautifully written, beautifully. It's just guitar, but like it's like 2 or 3 minutes of just guitar and mad droney sounds, and it sounds cool. Like it's just you know, I just wanting that little bit extra heft at the end. But other than that, killer album. I really enjoyed it. I was very happy. Thank you, Bob from Basalt Strine, for the lovely suggestion, and thanks again for coming on last week. Absolute gentleman. Lovely chat we had. So yeah, that's me for The Deal. That's The Deal now.
Now, do you happen to have next week's album ready?
No, I don't.
What a surprise.
Well, I do have. I had a thought about it, and there's there's 2 or 3, so I can't decide whether I want to go local or major. But I'll figure it out today, and I'll let everybody know on the Facebook. Although this will be next week, so you'll already know.
Yeah, we're talking to you from the future.
This is the future calling.
Yeah. Well, no, this is good.
Happy days.
And the good thing is because we release these a week in advance, a week apart, it gives me a lot, because back in the day before we started doing it this way, I would have to get everything published and uploaded that day, like today. So it's really refreshing that I get a week to edit, a week to add whatever I want. So it's good. I'm glad we did this.
Very cool.
Nice. So that's us. Tune in next week. Well, the week after. Yeah, next week for this.
Tune in every week anyway.
Yeah. And hope you guys, because we're talking, this will be next week. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the last week, which is this week. Now, it's confusing. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the Basalt Shrine. We did. Yeah, and in the meantime, we'll be working on our things. And as we always say, wait, actually.
Okay.
All right, so that was us this week, as we already said. And as usual, same time, same place, or something.
Or something.